Texas Ale Project is a veteran and family owned local brewery native to Dallas, Texas. The brewery was co founded by CEO Kat Thompson and her husband Brent Thompson in 2014. Texas Ale Project mission is to refine some of the greatest craft beers, traditions, and methodologies and blend those carefully with modern science to produce well balanced, smooth, and flavorful ales. To better understand the brewery and its longevity, this strategic business analysis PowerPoint will provide an overview of the company and the craft beer industry and will explore strategic initiatives like brand awareness, diversification, and key target markets. The goal is that based on our diligent research and analysis gathered from Texas Ale Project and the craft beer industries, executives within the organization will gain insight to better identify proposed recommendations.
Texas Ale Project's NAICS code is 312120 for breweries, industry code 3121 for beverage manufacturing, and falls in a segment among other brew pubs, microbrewers, and small regional independent craft brewers. Despite the pandemic, operating craft breweries surged with 8,700 craft breweries nationwide. This market witnessed decent growth between 2020 and 2021 due to the constant modification and improvement in taste and unique flavor options available, changing the consumption pattern of consumers and satisfying the need for innovative drinks. In 2019, the age group of craft beer drinkers most likely to drink craft beer weekly in the U.S. were 35 to 44-year-olds, followed closely by 21 to 34-year-olds. The shifting consumption trends and buying behaviors of these target markets, as well as buyers' purchasing criteria, will allow Texas Sale Project to execute effective marketing strategies for its products and cater to a surging demand of consumers. Against select competitors, Texas Hill Project recorded the lowest revenue between 2020 and 2021. However, the global craft beer market is projected to reach $190.66 billion by the end of 2027. The industry is expanding as new breweries develop products to serve the increasing consumer demand, thereby introducing creative styles of craft ale and lager to remain at the forefront among other rivals. Texas Ale Project's ability to stay abreast of key market trends will help the company increase performance as well as realize an increase in sales over the next 5 years. Key performance indicators are an excellent way for businesses to set and measure goals. For Texas Ale Project, some to be mindful of are monthly sales growth, brewery and taproom performance metrics, and employee and customer satisfaction, for all the reasons you see below.
The Texas L Project strengths include their prime location, their community presence, their quality and uniqueness of product, and partnerships. Some of their weaknesses include that they are a newer brewery established in 2014. They don't appeal to diverse demographics and they lack social media presence compared to their competitors. Some of the opportunities would be national distribution, media attentions, sports, food, and restaurant partnerships. They could also capitalize on niche marketing for greater success. Some of the threats with any brewery would be the competitors. There are several similar competitors, larger scale and smaller scale. They also have to compete with large brewery campaign costs, and then the economic and social changes would also be a threat. In this competition matrix, we focused on three local competitors and one mainstream. We looked at factors that could give a competitive advantage, such as the established year, ratings, product uniqueness, social media presence, and the number of staffs. What we did show was that all competitive advantages didn't always relate to higher revenues. What we did learn was the competitive matrix can help better plan for a successful business. The five forces. Threats of new entrants are fairly low, and that is because the capital that you need to start a brewery business from the ground up is fairly high. For the supplier power, suppliers have a low to medium power because their products are needed to make our products. However, there are many different suppliers available to the brewery business, both local and globally. For the power of buyers, the buyers have a fairly high amount of power due to the brewery being a social occasion product. It is not something that you need, it is something that you want, which raises the buyer's power. For the threats of substitutes, it's pretty high. There are other substitutes that are available for social occasions as far as wineries, bars, and generic brand products. Overall, the competition level is pretty high.
Texas Ale has approximately 17 employees. Based on research, the company appears to work in a functional organization structure. Texas Ale Project does have hierarchical management layers, with Kat Thompson serving as the CEO. The leadership team, as mentioned, has cross-functional experience which should serve the owners well as they lead the company. Jobs appear to be departmentalized according to the business activities. They include taproom bartender, brewer, cellarman, office manager, and sales manager, among others. It is not clear if the business has a human resources department. A look at the company's LinkedIn page gives a snapshot of their workforce, which shows that at first glance there's not a lot of diversity in age or race. The company has 7 open roles posted with clear job duties, and they say that the goals and objectives of the brewery are to have a strong culture around quality beer and quality customer service, and to also have a talented and passionate team that shares the company's commitment. Yet a look at possible former employees' comments on Indeed.com indicate that there may be cultural and managerial changes needed. Out of the people who reported on a scale up to 5 stars, work-life balance was rated 2.8, compensation benefits received 2.5, culture received 2.3, management received 2, and job security advancement received 1.8. Ways to address these low scoring areas would be to create organizational operating principles, communicate often with as much transparency as possible so that employees understand what's happening in the business. Design a compensation strategy that the company can utilize on job descriptions as well as discuss during interviews. Utilize a performance rating system such as the management by objectives method. Create an employee handbook to color policies, procedures, and expectations. Texas Ale Project should make sure that they're addressing industry issues such as sexism, racism, harassment, and predatory behavior in the workplace, which has been recently a hot topic in the news. They should speak to the employees proactively about what's happening in the industry, as well as clearly stating where the company stands regarding the issues. The company should also make sure that the management team understands state and federal laws, as this industry has faced a high number of wage and pregnancy related claims.
The craft brewing industry experienced a 9% decline in production during the 2020 pandemic. Texas Ale Project is already utilizing horizontal diversification with their hard seltzer. Utilizing a vertical diversification strategy, Texas Ale Project could consider branching out into distilling bourbon and whiskey. They do possess a facility large enough. However, this is riskier due to the additional marketing materials, training, licensing, and equipment this requires. With the craft beer industry being so popular, mega companies like Anheuser-Busch have begun to create alliances with small brewing companies. These companies are still legally independent companies. This opens up capital and raw materials at lower costs that they never would have had before. However, this also opens up the possibility of Anheuser-Busch to be more likely to acquire the company down the line. A new technology was created by NASA called the Pioneer Recovery System. Texas Ale Project can utilize this smaller and stackable CO2 recovery system in lieu of purchasing CO2 from an outside vendor. This system can save around $15,000 a year. Market volatility is very high for the craft brewing industry, which has been struck hard by the pandemic. There is now an aluminum can shortage, and since Texas Ale Project utilizes canned products, they need to evaluate what they will do if the shortage continues.
The 4 P's of marketing defines how well a business competes in this industry. Texas Ale Project wanted its brews to be familiar. The market strategy is to brew beers that they love to drink themselves. The price of Texas Ale Project varies from store to store retailers. Price selection is the only part in the marketing mix that generates revenue and profits for the company. The craft beer can be found in DFW local stores. Texas Ale Project now has the capacity to distribute its craft beers to a total of 64 counties in Texas. A company's brand choice tends to be based on which segment they think will bring the company most value. Millennials seem to be the main group that's attracted to craft beer, so creating promotional advertisement towards this market segment will increase brand awareness.
Long-term success in the craft beer market seems to be directly related to the capacity of keeping up with fast-paced creativity and innovation. The craft beer industry was created out of innovation of new flavors and depths of beers. In order to keep up with the ever-changing tastes of consumers, new products must be creative. Texas Ale Project launched an R&D series to explore new craft beer ideas. However, only 6 have been produced through this effort, one of which has since been retired and 2 others absent from the company website, causing Texas Ale Project to potentially miss out on an untapped key growth strategy and an easy increase in profits. Texas Ale Project strategically built their brewery in a prime location in downtown Dallas. Being a very active city, there are always themed events or celebrations, creating so many opportunities to create craft beers geared toward those activities. For example, not only are there typical major holidays that everyone targets, such as Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, etc., but there are even Pride Month, concert series, state fairs, Texas OU game, and the list could go on. Customer involvement is a great source on ideas and new flavors. Some ideas would be to poll brewery goers during their weekend visits, hosting a weekly poll on the company website and or social media, or venturing into the community to conduct research and understand upcoming events. Texas Ale Project should capitalize on its existing processes to come out with new and innovative craft beers. As an incentive to utilize a research and development project, there is a tax credit offered by the federal government that can save many small and startup craft breweries and distilleries with no income tax liabilities up to 10% of annual R&D costs for federal tax purposes. A brewery can be eligible for this credit if they conduct any number of the qualified activities or expenses such as testing product ingredients, mixtures, or salaries for employees that are directly involved with the research activities. To reap this potential benefit for increased R&D innovation, Texas Ale Project should partner with a tax advisor who understands the craft beer industry and current tax law.
Create brand loyalty initiatives. Why brand loyalty is essential to the business? Number one, it creates business longevity. You'll be around for a while. Repeat consumers, people will come back and shop with you. Invoke emotional motivation to purchase products. Whenever there is emotional ties to a brand, that means more revenue. How do you create these initiatives to promote brand awareness? You create incentives that promote dedication to the brand. You create a brand experience every time a consumer walks into your business or your company or purchase your products. And then you pinpoint a customer's motivation to buy a product. If you can pinpoint the motivation, you can recreate that motivation over and over to create brand loyalty and increase revenues. The plan. The first plan is to establish a reward program. This will motivate customer retention, competitive advantage, brand advocacy while building relationships. The reward program will be in the form of a reward card. The more products that a consumer purchases, the more or greater chances they would get a free product. That gives the consumer something to look forward to while also boosting revenue. The second recommendation would be a food partnership. This would create an advantage over the competitors that only sell drinks. This will also showcase new innovative products to a new market, the food industry. We would recommend having a night where you partner with a food truck, for example, a pizza truck that pulls up and have pizza and brew night. That'll create an identity in both markets. The last recommendation would be sports in the brewery. This will allow you to invest in a sports league, create a relationship with a market that goes together. Food and beer go together, sports and beer go together as well. And it also exchange access to commercial advantages of each industry. There are a lot of local sports leagues. It's, for example, the Dallas Sport and Social Club who offers sponsorship. There's only one brewery on their sponsorship list at the moment. We could definitely be the second one.
Our last overall recommendation for Texas L Project is to create and implement a diversity inclusion plan. The company has missed out with two great branding opportunities over the last couple of years, which would have helped their brand reach a diverse audience. For Texas L Project, diversity and inclusion initiatives need to start with the management team. The management team needs to create a foundation for diversity and inclusion and then partner with their internal and external environments to execute that plan. The leadership of the company should begin by examining what ways they are showing diversity and inclusion throughout the different parts of their organization. Questions to ask are, do they have a diverse staff and inclusive culture? Are their suppliers and partners diverse? Is their consumer base resembling all parts of the local community? First, the company needs to create a stronger mission and vision statement. They have a current mission statement, but it doesn't mention what their values are to reach that described culture. And having clearly defined company values, Texas L Project can begin to align diversity and inclusion efforts around those values. Once the mission, vision, and values are clearly defined, Texas L Project can then begin to construct their diversity and inclusion statement. Now, once that statement is created, the company can then begin to capture data on employees, vendors, customers, and the community to address where their opportunities lie for positive impact. Categories as stated on their job postings are areas which can be examined but should be continuously reviewed for the demographics of their internal and external environments to lessen the case of creating stereotypes. After collecting data, Texas L Project should begin to analyze the data. Their Facebook page shows very little diversity and pictures of employees and events, with no statements regarding issues affecting the local community and events planned to reach only a narrow audience. The culture does not appear to be very inclusive. They should look to host other events to bring a diverse crowd to their business by utilizing diverse entertainment. Texas L Project could also send their job postings to organizations that are diverse. Black sororities and fraternities are very active in the Dallas-Fort Worth community. Texas L Project can partner with these organizations for events to bring brand awareness to diverse groups. With Texas L Project being just minutes away from Oaklawn, which has been called the home of the LGBTQ community for the city of Dallas, there is an abundance of opportunities and events that the company could partner with throughout the year to bring in hundreds of participants. Next, Texas L Project should develop and implement their plan based on the information they've gathered. A flexible and individualized strategy should be the focus. The plan should focus on areas identified in the analyze phase and structured to align with the company's mission, vision, and values. Texas L Project must keep at the forefront of their initiatives that the company's brand and culture are connected. Misalignment on a diversity and inclusion plan can lead to a loss of organizational loyalty and be damaging to the organization on all levels. For implementation, Texas L Project should outline all their specific diversity and inclusion actions and the expected outcomes. This will be a way to make sure that the company isn't on target or if there's time to course correct in the area is needed. Data should be continuously monitored and adjustments made as identified. As Texas L Project continues to grow, the management team should make it a fundamental practice to review their diversity and inclusion plan.